Hello everyone, this is Here's Trivia, and today we're continuing the Fall of Wei Let's Talk Lore series with Act 3, titled The Second Rebellion of Huainan, as this act will cover Guan Qiujian's rebellion against Sima Shi. Now, to properly tell this story, one need to be familiar with Guan Qiujian's past, so if you have not watched our Guan Qiujian's Conquest of Korea Let's Talk Lore series, or the two previous acts of the Fall of Wei, then please do so before continuing, as I do not plan to repeat Guan Qiujian's past for this series. Where we will pick up is with Guan Qiujian's reassignment as the prefect of the Yu province in 251, following his successful military campaign in the Korean peninsula. In addition to his civil prefect position, Guan Qiujian was also named as the General of the Left, or Zuojiangjun, and the General who stabilizes the South, or Zhennan Jiangjun, as he was also taking over the military command of the Yu province garrison following Wang Ling's recent failed rebellion. Not long after assuming his post, the Battle of Dongxing would occur in 252, where Guan Qiujian was in charge of the supportive attack on the Wu secondary capital of Wuchang. However, given the disastrous result of the Wei main attack on Dongxing, Guan Qiujian's attack on Wuchang never materialized, as he quickly pulled back his troops after the entire campaign was called off. As the main fault lied with the Dongxing front, which was commanded by General Hu Zun, Zhuge Dan, and Sima Zhao. A military reorganization of the southern front was orchestrated by Sima Shi in the aftermath of the defeat, as Zhuge Dan, who was originally the general who stabilizes the east, or Zhendong Jiangjun, and the commander of the Yang province garrison, would end up swapping places with Guan Qiujian. So essentially, Zhuge Dan now took control of the Yu province garrison and got the title of general who stabilizes the south, while Guan Qiujian swapped over to the Yang province as the general who stabilizes the east and took command of the garrison there, in a seemingly pointless lateral move for both generals. Now, the reason behind this reassignment stemmed largely from political pressure against Sima Shi to dish out punishment to his key generals after the defeat at Dongxing. Naturally, given the recent death of Sima Yi, Sima Shi wanted to preserve his control of the regional troops, so instead of demoting key generals like Hu Zun and Zhuge Dan, who were Sima clan loyalists, Sima Shi decided to merely swap Zhuge Dan's post with Guan Qiujian, while keeping Hu Zun in the same position as the general who conquers the east, or Zhendong Jiangjun. The only person Sima Shi ended up punishing was his own younger brother in Sima Zhao, who would end up being stripped of all his nobility titles as Sima Zhao became the scapegoat for this defeat. One important thing to note here is that while General Hu Zun was the staunch Sima clan loyalist, given his past as a Wei Western Army officer who was first discovered and steadily promoted by Sima Yi up the military ranks, Zhuge Dan's loyalty is highly questionable. A member of the Zhuge clan of Langya, Zhuge Dan was a cousin to Zhuge Liang of Shuhan and Zhuge Jin of Wu. But unlike his two cousins, Zhuge Dan did not have a great political career in the early days of Wei. Serving in a variety of minor imperial court and county level positions, Zhuge Dan finally worked his way into the imperial secretariat during the reign of Cao Rui, where he became friends with renowned scholar Xiahou Xuan. Unfortunately, this relationship ended up damaging his political career when Cao Rui purged the courts of the officials that he saw as vain and superficial, and with the likes of Xiahou Xuan and He Yan being the main targets of this purge, those associated with them, such as Zhuge Dan, also got the axe, as he would have to wait until Cao Rui's death, when co-regent Cao Shuang took over, to return to the courts. Zhuge Dan would rise quickly through the ranks under Cao Shuang's reign, as he would eventually be promoted to become the prefect of the Yang province as the civil counterpart to General Wang Ling, who was just promoted at the time to the Grand Excellency position. It is worth noting that Zhuge Dan actually already had a deep personal tie with Wang Ling through a marriage between one of his daughters to Wang Ling's eldest son, Wang Guang. So it was highly likely that Zhuge Dan was involved in Wang Ling's planned first rebellion of Huainan, but because Wang Ling ended up surrendering before the rebellion even got underway, Zhuge Dan's potential involvement never came to light. Add on the fact that Zhuge Dan's other daughter married Sima Yi's third son, Sima Zhou, and was thus also in-laws with the Sima clan, Sima Yi decided to give Zhuge Dan the benefit of the doubt after Wang Ling's failed rebellion, as not only was Zhuge Dan not punished, Sima Yi gave Zhuge Dan command of the Yang province garrison in Wang Ling's place. But Sima Yi's trust was conditional, as in order to counterbalance Zhuge Dan's military control of the Yang province, Sima Yi also promoted Wen Qing into Zhuge Dan's former civil position as the prefect of the Yang province. This created a particularly interesting political dynamic within the Yang province, as Wen Qing and Zhuge Dan were bitter personal rivals, even though politically both had been closely associated with Cao Shuang. So essentially, Sima Yi set up two people who were both potential enemies to the Sima clan in the Yang province because of their past ties with Cao Shuang, but because they had such a strong hatred against each other, they could never band together to rebel against the Sima clan, as each would happily sell out the other the first chance they got. But this carefully crafted dichotomy broke after the defeat at Dongxing, when Sima Shi was forced to reassign Zhuge Dan to the Yu province. So the new civil and military partnership within the Yang province now became Guanqiu Jian and Wen Qing, who did not have any past ties with each other. And this was actually a blessing, as Wen Qing honestly was a terrible human being, and if Guanqiu Jian had shared a previous experience with Wen Qing, then the two of them would most likely not have gotten along. Now, to understand why Wen Qing was such a terrible human being, we have to dig a bit into Wen Qing's past. Wen Qing was the son of Wen Ji, a cavalry commander who served under Cao Cao. In the year 219, Wen Qing became wrapped up in Wei Feng's failed coup in Ye, and was thus imprisoned by Cao Pi. Now, Wen Qing was not an active participant in the coup, but his name came up several times during the interrogations of the main conspirators. So he was sentenced to death and was severely tortured in prison before his planned execution. Fortunately for him, before his execution, Cao Cao ended up pardoning him on behalf of his father's long service. But because of this incident, Cao Pi never employed Wen Qing during his entire reign, and it would be until Cao Rui's reign that Wen Qing would work his way into an officer position in the Northern Army, where he became best known for his brutality, rudeness, and disobedience to superiors. Because of these traits, Wen Qing eventually lost his post and was recommended for exile by the army command. But Emperor Cao Rui became quite fond of this rebellious officer and decided to give him a second chance on the southern front, as Wen Qing was given an officer role in the Lu'an garrison in the Yang province. Here, Wen Qing would have some success using farming encampments to lure Wu citizens on the borders to defect to Wei through the promise of free land. But eventually, his farming encampments sparked a strong Wu military response, as General Zhu Yi ended up raiding and destroying most of them. Nevertheless, Wen Qing's initial success earned him a promotion to become the administrator of Lujiang. But once he had little power, his true nature started to show, as he became infamous for over-reporting the results of border skirmishes, as Wen Qing frequently exaggerated battle results and enemy casualty numbers in an effort to receive more rewards. Now, overinflating enemy casualty is not just a counting move, as you had to show proof for confirmed kills, which meant that Wen Qing most likely had his troop massacre civilians to increase their headcount. On top of his brutality, Wen Qing also partook in a variety of smuggling operations with Wu merchants to line his own pockets. Eventually, his superior Wang Ling secured evidence of Wen Qing's smuggling and reported him to the imperial court. The court recalled Wen Qing to question him, but fortunately for Wen Qing, by this time, the court was firmly in co-regent Cao Shuang's control, as Cao Shuang and Wen Qing had a decent relationship from the fact that they're from the same hometown and had known each other in their youth. So when Cao Shuang asked Wen Qing about why he had two ships loaded with important construction materials, Wen Qing simply claimed that his subordinates needed these materials to build their private estates. And even though this was a lousy excuse, Cao Shuang did not care, as he needed to have a close ally like Wen Qing in key regional military positions. So instead of bringing Wen Qing to justice for selling military construction materials to Wu for money, Cao Shuang promoted him to Guanjun Jiangjun, or the champion general, and sent him back to his former post as the administrator of Lujiang. So, given Wenqing's close alliance to Cao Shuang, it's not shocking that Wenqing was extremely worried about his own career and life after Sima Yi's coup and Cao Shuang's execution. But much to Wenqing's surprise, Sima Yi did not punish him. Instead, Wenqing was promoted to the general of the front, or Qianjiangjun, as a form of appeasement. Now, a year after Cao Shuang's execution, there was an interesting incident that was historically recorded down as a fake surrender attempt by Wenqing, where Wenqing wrote a letter to Sun Quan expressing his desire to defect to Wu, citing Cao Shuang's execution and Sima Yi's takeover as his reasons. At the time, Sun Quan wanted to welcome Wenqing to Wu, but the Wu general Zhu Yi, who had previously fought against Wenqing in Luan, warned Sun Quan that Wenqing is not to be trusted, and this could potentially be a Wei trap. So Sun Quan ended up agreeing to have Zhu Yi take 20,000 troops and cautiously press up to the borders to monitor the situation, but advance no farther into Wei territory. Sensing the Wu alertness, Wenqing ended up doing nothing. So historically, it ended up being recorded as a failed fake surrender, but I think there was a good chance that Wenqing did want to surrender to Wu, given the political circumstances. But after seeing Zhu Yi's cautious standoff, Wenqing ended up changing his mind, as Zhu Yi and Wenqing had a bad history of fighting in Luan in the past. Either way, despite Wenqing's promotion to the general of the front after Cao Shuang's death, and a later promotion to the position of prefect of the Yang province after Wang Ling's death, Wenqing's life was in reality getting much worse, as his new military counterpart in Zhuge Dan was essentially his sworn enemy, as Zhuge Dan, who saw himself as an honorable scholar, had always viewed Wenqing as a scum, despite their shared political association with Cao Shuang. But then suddenly, with the Battle of Dongxing and the arrival of Guan Qiujian as the new military commander of the Yang province, Wenqing's life finally turned around, as for the first time in his life, someone treated him with respect. Now, to find out how the partnership of Guan Qiujian and Wenqing will lead to the second rebellion of Huainan, come back next time, as we'll continue the series tomorrow with episode 2, titled A Rushed Start. So hopefully you all have enjoyed this episode enough to consider subscribing to the channel for more content on Three Kingdoms history, or simply support the channel by leaving a comment below, or just by hitting the like button. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye!